You know, I've never really thought of myself as much of a cat girl, but I did relate to this character a lot. That's a really awful opening gag. Whatever. Gonna talk about a video game, Night in the Woods. This is a game that's been out for a while. It came out in 2017, and I've known about it for a bit, but I played it on stream here on this channel, and I want to talk about it now. Mechanically, there is not a lot to it. As far as navigation, it's kind of a 2D platformer. Like, you navigate a 2D space, you can jump up like onto power lines to get onto the roofs of buildings and find and talk to some characters who you might not otherwise. But like, there isn't any mechanical reason to do so. It's not like they give you resources or anything. Stuff like that just doesn't really exist. What this is a story. It is one of those cases where some people might argue this didn't need to be a video game. The strength and what is good about it is the story, and you could have told the story another way. I'm going to disagree. I'm not going to say that you can't tell a story like this without it being interactive or having certain branching options on it, but I will say it would be a lesser story for that. But mechanically, there's almost nothing to talk about. This is, I suppose, if I were going to define it as anything, I guess it's a choices matter adventure game? Kind of? Sort of? There is a little bit more explanation, exploration to it than that, at least if you want there to be. Let's talk about the plot, and I probably will have a spoiler section on the back end. So let's start with the fact that, yes, all the characters are anthropomorphized animals. No, this is not examined in any way. They are effectively, all of this takes place, they are all living in a small American town, for all intents and purposes. And there are also normal animals. Like, you are a cat girl, but there's also a cat, like a normal cat, that you can pass on the street. So, like, it's just an aesthetic choice. The art style is very distinct, but the animation is incredibly limited. Like, basically, characters have a movement cycle, ones that have more of a visible, like, snout, like Greg, who's a fox, or Bee, who's kind of a crocodile. Like, they have a talking animation that is very basic. And other than that, there's just, like, small things like the eyes move somewhere else, or maybe there's a slight shift in the mouth to, like, happier, sadder, or the eyes narrow a little bit. That is about it. There's a couple of other small touches, like your character, the cat, May, who is the cat girl that you play, her ears might have a little flick, and like those are well deployed. So like there isn't a lot of, this is not a visually elaborate game at all, but it is a very atmospheric game, and the visuals do help with that. So May is a character who has left college and come back to the small town that she grew up in. She is back in the home with her parents. Her best friend from school is still around, as well as a few other people who she knows. And speaking as someone who grew up in a small town, a lot of it rang really, really, really true. The writing is really phenomenal on this. Oh, I'll mention this now. Yes, I am aware of some stuff that happened behind the scenes, particularly with one of the main creators behind this. I am aware of it. I'm not dealing with it. So you don't have to point it out. Okay, moving on. In any case, it does a very good job of capturing that feeling of coming back to a small town and being like, oh, look at that. That's the same. That's gone. And that building's empty. And this person's not around anymore. It's this weird mix of stuff never changes, but also stuff has absolutely changed. Because one of the things about small town living is that it can feel it can almost feel like completely locked in a jar almost. Like, you live in a busy, bustling place, a major metropolitan area, and you have that sense of like, oh yeah, stuff's changing, stuff's moving. You go somewhere where it's slower and like, it doesn't really feel like much is changing. Unless you leave and come back and it's had time to change while you were away, then it can be jarring. And yet at the same time, so much of the stuff that you remember is also still there. It's this very weird mix of feelings that I think the game captures very, very well. And May reconnects with her best friend Greg. Greg and has his boyfriend Angus. And then there is B, who I also mentioned. And these characters, like, the story is good. The dialogue is phenomenal. This might very sincerely be the best dialogue writing I have ever seen in a video game. And it's some of the best dialogue writing I've seen in anything. But it really kind of gets away with it because it's a video game. So my playthrough on this took about 14 hours before I got to the end credits. And the reason I'm pointing that out in relation to why I said this works better as a video game is because the way that these characters talk, which feels so authentic to, a young sort of small town experience, and like these characters feel so real and so rounded. And part of that is they rarely talk directly about, their feelings. They talk around things. They kind of sideswipe topics. They jump topics just because there was an awkward pause. And it feels all very natural in a way that if you tried to condense this down to, say, a movie and do it in 2 hours, you would absolutely lose that because it needs that breathing room. How much character is brought about just with the pauses that characters will take and the specific words they will choose to use, or how their attitude and the way that they talk to May changes from one day to another, maybe because they had a bad day or they feel a certain way about something that happened the previous time. We find out so much about these characters and they feel so real. It is astoundingly well written. I legit cannot get over how good the dialogue and character writing in this game is. It does such an amazing job of capturing all of these people. And even some of the side characters, like there was some really fascinating stuff that went on with May's parents. And there's this character, Selma, May calls her Selmers, who you just see hanging out on her porch stoop, who is a poet. And you can ask, do you want to share poetry? Or actually, she'll ask you, do you want to hear a poem? And you can, or you can choose not to. But I always did. Like, not that they were amazing poems, but I just liked Selmers, and I liked the attitude that was brought around. And then there's Germ, this weird little bird dude who's real upbeat and real chill, but also just kind of a weird guy. And then there's Bruce, who is homeless and kind of living out back behind the church, and he's not bothering anybody. Seems like a perfectly nice guy. Some people still don't like that he's there. And there is a lot of really fascinating exploration of this sense of, I've come home, but I'm still lost. And what do I do with that? Now, there is also a general sort of sense of intrigue in the background. Like this I can mention because it happens early and it gives you an idea. Like one of the first things that happens is Greg and May come across an arm. Like a person's arm in the street. It's like, I'm sorry, what? And there is, as I said, the game is atmospheric. Every night, May has these dreams that don't quite sit right, and they're getting worse. And there will be stuff that takes place at night or in the mist. And there is this sort of sense of there's something bigger going on here. And at the same time, it never really lets that take over the narrative. Like it gets more of a focus as the game gets towards the tail end, but it is ultimately always about how do we live in a world that doesn't really seem to have a place for us or value us, that doesn't feel like home anymore. And these young characters, early 20s, asking these questions. And it's really, really compelling. I'm going to talk a bit about spoilers now. So if you don't mind a slow-paced, narrative-driven story, I really recommend it if you haven't already played it. Again, it's been out for a while. Fair few people have. But I really, really liked this. Now I kind of want to talk about the ending. So if you're here at this point, then you either don't care about spoilers or you already know. So as one of my regulars on the stream noted, Okay, so a group of aging bigots in this town are sacrificing undesirables to an eldritch horror in the hope that it will reinvigorate their local economy. Boy, you can sure tell this was made in 2017. And yeah, like there is this eldritch sense to it, but also like the problem is capitalism ultimately. And there is kind of this cult that you uncover towards the back end, and it kind of has the feel, it's kind of a cross between like the community group in Hot Fuzz, you know, the with the hood and for the greater good, you know, that it's like a cross between that and the Wicker Man. It's sort of the energy of these people. And what I really appreciate it is even as it gets that weird, it never lets the focus stop being on May and her friends. And there's a moment that happens towards the end where they're trying to get out of these mines, and like the real version is May just kind of zones out, but like from her perspective, she like falls into this water. And she's floating there, and it's like she's talking to whatever this thing was that these people thought if they sacrificed undesirable, unmissable people to it, that it would give them prosperity. And she has this speech that she gives. Oh, calling it a speech sells it wrong. This rant about how so much of her life has been dealing with her anger and being told she has anger issues. And to be clear, to a degree, she does. But also her just saying flat out, I need my anger. My anger is justified. My anger keeps me going. I want to fight, and I want it to hurt. Hurting makes me know that I'm alive and makes me know that I'm actually fighting for something. And even if it sucks, I am still going to be here. And I'm still going to fight, and it'll hurt, and I will keep living until it kills me. You know, it kind of has a slightly less morally righteous tone as that Doctor Who speech I love from the 12th Doctor. It's the best I can do, so I'm going to keep doing it until it kills me. And there is just this appreciation that your dissatisfaction and your anger is not something that needs to just be pushed down. And, you know, that makes you a problem. That makes you undesirable. You're too angry. No, there are reasons to be angry. There are also things that need help, like May demonstrably does have some mental health issues and has a dissociation problem that gets delved into a bit towards the back end. And in a really, the scene that I found out about is this really warming but also chilling at the same time kind of interaction that she had with Greg on the couch, which I guess is not mandatory. It's possible that you could end up in a scene with B instead. I don't know if the same information is conveyed about what happened at the softball game. I would assume so. But another scene that really, really got to me was I went out to the hills with Angus at one point, and he, you know, was talking about growing up and how hard his life was messed up. And he talks about, you know, he's an atheist. And it's not like I don't know. It's like, no, I don't believe in God. I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe in hell. Although at one point towards the tail end, he says, you know, I don't believe in hell, but I hope those people go straight there. And like, he's right. I like all these characters are great. I love all of them, but I like Angus really. I think Angus might be my favorite, but he has this moment of saying that, you know, there's no God, there's no ghosts. I believe in a universe that doesn't care and people who do. And there's moments like that sprinkled throughout the game, and it's just really beautiful. Like, and again, the writing, if you are a writer, or if you have a particular appreciation for dialogue writing, or if you want to try and get better at dialogue writing. And also keep in mind, none of these characters are voiced. It's all just text on the screen. Through text alone, no need for an actor to interpret it, I got such a clear sense of who these people are. Do you know how hard that is to do, especially when the animation is this limited? Oh, it's so good. Like, you need to be in for a completely narrative-driven thing with a slow pace that doesn't really ramp up, pace-wise at least, but to just meander around and interact and get to know this town and these people and yourself and your friends. If that's something that you think you'd enjoy, I cannot recommend this enough. I think this is a really phenomenal piece of work. A Night in the Woods. Have you played it? What did you think of it? Who's your favorite character? I think I'm going to say Angus. Like, the other moment that I really, really loved with Angus is at the tail end when they're getting out of the mine, and this is after they've not on purpose because they were trying to get away, but they ended up destroying the elevator, which means the cult is probably trapped in the mine and are all now probably going to die. And the group, the four of them, you know, they're like, we just killed people, and it's like, it's self-defense. And May says, look, none of us would have done that if we'd known that was what was going to happen. And there's just this pause, and Angus just goes, I would. Oh! I love him. I love him so much. And he and Greg are so cute together. It's so, But whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Patreon pays the bills and enables me to do this as my living. Even if you can't help me out that way, like, share, subscribe. Don't worry too much about it, though. We take a relaxed attitude around here, so you can just come on back next time you need a break. Now to thank my highest supporting patrons: Robin Moore, Jared Boyce, Subin Lutfulla, Andikate 808, Mara G, Angry Casperl, Dave Hall, Movie Turtle, Oliver B, The Baba Duchess, Sean Miller, Welsh Wrestling Geeks, Melissa Pedersen, Mary Mello, Becky Sparks, Loki Eris, Tracy Scrabbit, Pau Barabajoggle, and Sir Didymus is my favorite. I also want to give my thanks to all the supporters who didn't get named, because you are all indeed very nifty people. You could be a nifty person too if you go support me on Patreon, and there's the clause. Ugh.